It's given you this completely different outlook on life and all these other experiences that a lot of
Yeah,
students don't have. Welcome to Ask Dr. Gray Premed Q&A. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Dr. Gay. Thank you.
Awesome. What can I help you with today?
Well, my main question is about being a stay-home mom,
hmm
and I'm just wondering if being a stay-home mom would be looked down upon by medical school committee.
Well, hopefully you're not a stay-at-home mom when you're in medical school. You actually go into medical school as well. Um,
Hmm.
the what's behind the question, right? Because the
Yeah,
whether you're a stay-at-home mom, you work full-time as a EMT, as an executive in a business. At the end of the day, getting into medical school is all about doing the things that you need to do to get into medical school. So what's behind the
yeah.
question? Where do you think potentially you're lacking?
Yeah, like I have lived in three different countries so far, and my question comes from the recognition that there is this cultural difference among my home country, my husband's home country, and here in the United States. So, given the cultural difference, some personal qualities would be given more credit for, and not so much for others. So, like for example, here, um, like maternity leave is like 6 weeks, right?
And the
So
rest of the
the
world is
first
like, take the year off.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like the sooner you can get back into the job after delivering a baby, the stronger you are considered.
Yeah.
So, I
Stupid.
mean, I don't necessarily agree with that, and
Neither
I
do
have
I.
been yeah. So I have been a stay-home mom for like last 6 years.
Mm,
Before that, I worked as a nurse here in the US for about 8 years.
okay.
And I went from like graduate nurse to a nurse clinician who is like a assistant nurse manager. And when I gave birth to my first child, I was in my husband's home country. And given the childcare system there, I decided to stay at home, you
Mm,
know. So, and now I'm here looking at all the things that I have done
yeah.
and wanting to go back to being pre-med. I'm wondering, how schools will look at my pre-med journey.
Yeah. So again, back to my first question is, where do you think you are lacking?
I don't think I'm lacking in any aspect. In fact, being a mom has given me this whole new dimension in life that I could never have.
Yeah.
I'm like at 20, I would not have known all these things. At like 30, when I went back to being pre-med like 6 years ago, I would not have, known so much about life and all
yeah.
these things. And I don't think that I'm lacking anywhere in
But
terms of,
but
you know,
being a mom, being a stay-at-home mom doesn't give you clinical hours for the most part, right? Being a stay-at-home mom doesn't give you shadowing hours. Are
correct.
you making the time? Are you getting the support from your family to go out and do those things?
That is something that I will have to start early next year because I made a commitment to myself that, I will go back and do something as a pre-med once my younger child starts school.
Yeah.
So all of those extracurricular activities, my prerequisites, everything I have to start next year.
Okay, so you still have a long road ahead of you for your journey.
Yes, the magical year would be 2025 for me if everything goes
Okay.
fine and
Yeah.
I matriculate or like, the way I think. The magical year would be 2025
To
for me to
start
get into
medical
nursing.
school?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
apply in 2024?
yes.
Yeah. So with that said, I think
Mhm.
you're going to be perfectly fine. Being a stay-at-home mom right now really has no effect on your application. Where you go from here, now that you're making the decision to be pre-med and start this journey, going and taking your prereqs, now where are you showing your passion lies? Is it
Okay.
Is it's getting into a clinic, into a hospital setting, volunteering, or getting paid to work if you're ready to take that step. All of
Mhm.
that, you're going to have lots of time to build up experiences around that. I don't think the being a stay-at-home mom is a hindrance at all. And as you mentioned, right, it's giving you this completely different outlook on life and all these other experiences that a lot of
Yeah,
students don't have. And I think that's going to be very much an asset, right? You're going to be the mom of the cohort at medical school,
yeah,
taking
yeah.
care of everyone else.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a super non-traditional
Yeah.
student.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's good. That's okay.
okay, so something related to this question is that, earlier I mentioned that I have like at about 8 years of nursing
Yep.
experience, right? That was like 6 years ago. Now, as I'm trying to show the medical school committee that I'm ready to make this shift towards being a physician, do I have to bring my nursing career back to the same level? Because I do have a nursing license still, right? I have been doing the continuing education and
Wow.
everything.
Okay.
But like um, like before, during my nursing career, I was doing everything. I was graduate nurse in the beginning, and I went up to nurse clinician. I was taking part in this nurse initiated committees like education committee and shared governance council and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Was that here in the
And then
States?
yes,
Okay.
yes, and I did preceptorship. I was mentoring my colleagues. So now I do have the license, but
Okay.
then if I go back and not take a paid nursing job and just do volunteering few hours a week
Yep.
so that I can focus more on my courses and those things,
Yep. Perfectly
I
fine.
mean, how, I
Perfectly
mean,
fine.
would
Yeah,
that
there's
be,
there's there's no reason, there's not going to be any sort of negative outlook on, well, you're a nurse, why aren't you acting as a nurse? Why are you just volunteering, or why are you just scribing, or why are you just whatever? There's no problem not going back to nursing just because you have your nursing license and everything else. So don't worry about that. Focus on this point forward, what you need to do to succeed, and don't go, well, I was a nurse, I need to be a nurse, and then that potentially sets you up for failure moving forward because now you're picking up too many shifts as a nurse and you're not dedicating your time to classes, to other stuff that you want to be doing, and you think that you just have to be a nurse. So don't worry about that. Don't go back there if you don't want to. If you want to, great. But if you don't want to and you don't think you have the bandwidth for it, then don't.
no, like I love patient care. It's
I
good.
hope so. You want to
But
be a doctor.
yeah, yeah. I love patient care. The only thing right now is I do have associate's degree in nursing. I do not have a bachelor's.
Okay.
So by 2020, all nurses are supposed to have
Mm,
bachelor's.
yep.
So if I go back and pick up a paid job, then I might have to, take the time to get bachelor's.
Yeah. You don't want
So
to waste your
that's
time
gonna
doing
even
that.
prolong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
potentially there probably will be a role, and I don't know. I haven't looked into this, and it probably will be state to state dependent. There probably will still be a role for associates nursing degrees, just not at the same capacity that maybe you were used to, and so maybe it's more of a higher level medical assistant or something like that.
I mean, they are taking nurses right now, but
Yeah,
they are saying you have to commit to getting a bachelor's degree within 5 years of employment.
yeah. Within
Yeah.
5 years of employment, that's interesting. So maybe there's a little wiggle room for you.
Yeah, there is. But if that takes me to this another question. Back in 2012 and 13, when I was doing the pre-med courses, I took 2 semesters of undergraduate research, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, I wished I had taken cell bio, genetics, those kind of things before I took that undergraduate research. But I definitely got something out of it, including one of the publication on commentary. It was
Okay.
a commentary, first author commentary, but it was not a research article on my project,
Yeah.
So I'm here in New York, and you know how research heavy these New York schools are.
Yep.
I have heard you saying that research is not required,
Yep.
and given my background, what should I do in terms of research,
Do you want to do research?
I want to do more like clinical research, not the wet lab
Yeah.
bench kind of research. I want
So
more
so go look for
people.
some clinical research positions.
Yeah. So okay. So
Yeah. If you want to, again, you don't have to. And yes, the kind of inner city New York City schools, Sinai, NYU, um,
mhm,
Einstein, all of those big. There's one more I'm blanking on. All of those big institutions, they are heavy in research, but that doesn't mean
yeah.
they only accept students who have research. What
hmm
they're looking for are students who are inquisitive, who are trying to challenge the status quo, who like to ask questions, who like to find answers. And you've
Yeah.
done some of that with the research that you have in the past. And so it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that you have to go continue to do it.
hmm
And if you're more
hmm
interested in the clinical research side of things, great. That's still research. That's still asking the questions. That's still doing the investigation, and
hmm
that's just as important. So I think you're perfectly fine there. It's funny. I was actually just at a clinic visit with my daughter, and there was a clinical researcher coordinator came in. And I
Yeah.
asked, I'm like, "Are you a pre-med? A lot of you clinical research people are pre-meds." He goes, "Yeah, I'm pre-med." And so we talked, and it was funny. He
hmm
he, he knew of me, so we chatted for a little bit about his application because he's in the middle of applying. But yeah, if you want to do that, great, go do it. But again, don't don't look at all of this from I need to go check all of the boxes, because I think that's
Correct.
where you're looking. That's where a lot of your questions are coming from, right? I'm a
Mhm.
stay-at-home mom, therefore I'm not going to be able to check all the boxes. I don't have the research. I don't have the research. I can't check that box. I don't have this. I can't check the box. So get out of that mindset. From this
Mhm.
point forward,
Mhm.
obviously you need to take the classes, right? The prereqs that you need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to get into medical school and to succeed on the MCAT.
Uh-huh.
And then everything else that you should be doing should be there to, one, fulfill kind of the passions and enjoyment that you have, but also
Mhm.
continue to validate why you want to be a physician.
Correct. Correct. Okay, and regarding the prerequisites, like I did some prerequisites classes like in 2012 and 13. Um, if I need to retake it, I have not decided if I'm going to retake it or not. But if I need to retake it, do I need to retake the labs also, or just the theory?
I would probably just worry about the theory side of it, the classroom side of it, if you want to retake it. Remember, the majority of prereqs don't expire. Most medical schools don't have an expiration date for
Mhm.
prereqs. The most important thing to think about as you're going through this journey is, where is my level of knowledge? Is it enough to
Correct.
do well on the MCAT? Do I still have that foundational knowledge to crush the
Correct.
MCAT? Or do I need to go retake some of these classes to build up my knowledge again so that I can do well on the MCAT? And then if you think your knowledge is great, then go take upper division classes and you'll probably be fine as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. And thank you for mentioning your daughter because I do have a 5-year-old and almost 2-year-old son. I always love hearing about your kids whenever you mention about them in the
Yeah,
podcast or YouTube videos or whatever
we're
it is.
we're very similar ages. My 6.5-year-old daughter now, and just turned 2-year-old son. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a handful
Yeah.
during a pandemic, but we're surviving.
Yeah, we are. And please do mention about them more because I always think, oh, Dr. Gray and I are twin parents because we have similar age children,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, very cool. Any other questions? Any other thoughts?
One last question, Dr.
Yep.
Gray. I heard somebody saying about the research in electronic medical record.
Yep.
Do people do like research? Can pre-med students do research in electronic medical records like remotely?
Remotely, probably. Most electronic medical record systems are set up to do remote access.
Correct.
Um, you're talking about kind of doing a data dive and looking through and pulling records and that kind of stuff from the electronic
I
medical records. That's what you're saying?
I assume so because I didn't get time to clarify with that person, but they
Yeah,
said like at Premed you can do research on electronic medical record remotely,
yeah.
So
Yeah, so it's just to clarify again. So you're not saying I'm going to research about electronic medical records. You're talking about doing clinical research using the electronic medical records as your conduit for getting the information that you need to pull. If the PI says, "Hey, we need to pull all of the patients over the last 5 years who had this diagnosis," right? You're the one going in, pulling the information, pulling out whatever information is in that patient file. That's what you're talking about, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is it
That would make
similar to
sense.
chart audit or
Say that again.
no?
Well, I mean, a chart audit is similar in that you're using the electronic medical record to access data, but you're looking at different endpoints for each of them. So, but yeah, I assume if you find any sort of research going on and you can contact that PI and get involved, that obviously you're going to have to go through HIPAA training and everything else. But I don't think there's any reason why you can't do that remotely,
Oh,
if you can go through all of those other steps.
okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Gray.
You're welcome. I hope you have a great day and good luck, and keep us updated on this long road ahead for you.